Chris, it's Friday, April 2nd, and we have a lot to catch up on this week.
You ready to dive into it?
I want to hear what's going on. So yeah, let's jump into the Ohio Tech Report.
Cool. So story number one, and this is about JobsOhio, so the state's economic development organization. They are going to invest $50 million a year into fast-growing startups in an effort to help them grow, keep them in Ohio, and continue this really incredible Ohio Tech, Ohio startup momentum.
Wow. So as an incubator, or what round of funding are they going to be contributing?
Yeah, great question. So it's part of this kind of broader strategy and big plan. But what they're going to be doing is they're going to be working with groups like the Jumpstarts, and they're going to contribute. So they're not doing these direct investments themselves, but they're using the existing teams that are already on the ground in cities across the state in order to deploy these resources. So JobsOhio won't contribute more than 20% of funding, but again, they're going to use groups like Jumpstart in order to make this happen. I don't know if there hasn't been, and you and I have talked about this, it seems like the past year, but really maybe even 6 months or so, there's just been so much momentum around tech and startups in Ohio. And obviously, to get that momentum these past 6 months, it's many, many, many years of hard work that lead up to it. It's not overnight success.
Right.
But to see this all happening in the middle of a global pandemic, something that's happened, once every 100 years, is absolutely incredible. So to keep this momentum, the pedal to the metal, it's really, really fun to see.
Well, taking advantage of a crisis, and to that end, Ohio is really being aggressive, and this is another build upon JobsOhio. The second thing I wanted to catch up on today is the aggressive marketing campaign. So these are things we've seen emerge, but just this morning, or actually Thursday, April 1st, which we're recording on to be transparent, JobsOhio sponsored the Morning Brew newsletter, and that is not an insignificant investment. Your minimum spend with Morning Brew is $30,000, but probably to get top billing on the morning newsletter. Morning Brew is a great newsletter, recently acquired for $40 million. It's probably a 3-year-old business. Oh, $50 million? What?
About $75 million is what it's been.
God. Okay, so a newsletter company started by a couple college kids. 4 years later.
I think like 5 or so, but yeah, I mean, not that long ago.
Good for them. They hustle, but Ohio has sponsored the Morning Brew newsletter. If you click through, it's attached to the same campaign that we saw in New York campaign, Come to Ohio. And there's even billboards in San Francisco. A buddy of mine was in San Francisco. He's from New York, and he noticed it in San Francisco. Like, why is Ohio advertising in San Francisco? Great to see how aggressive we're being as far as attracting business, attracting talent here to build out our tech community. So I just thought that was kind of fun. We'll dig into those numbers a little more to follow the progress here as JobsOhio is really on leaning forward into this.
Well, and Morning Brew, maybe for those that aren't familiar or don't read it each morning, has, I think, 2 million subscribers. Excuse me. It's a massive amount. And the typical audience is millennials. It's people, young professionals in their 20s and 30s. And so, again, it's, I think, part of probably this broader strategy of recruiting talent that's younger into the careers, growing in their careers, of how we can get them to stay in Ohio, come back to Ohio. And I know you're the same way, Jeff, but I have friends and colleagues all across the country. And because of OhioX, it seems like each week I'm having someone else reach out to me. They shoot me LinkedIn notes, Twitter direct messages to say, hey, I'm from this part of Ohio. I've been living in San Francisco or New York or Boston for the past 5, 10, 15 years, and they're trying to figure out how to come back home. And so now's this time where people are leaving coastal hubs, going to places like Miami and Austin, Texas, and Nashville and Boulder. And it's really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I think, for cities and states in the middle of the country to recruit talent and keep talent and build and grow talent. And to have Ohio just out there just pushing this message repeatedly is so incredibly important, because it's talent makes everything go round.
I agree. On a new neighbor from California, they're new to the neighborhood, haven't met them in person yet, but they have a Tesla. They look like they're from California. And so it's interesting, in the suburb of Youngstown, how Californians will integrate into into the region. Similar with Texas, right? You have all the Californians invading Texas, and I've heard a lot of jokes about that. So we'll keep watch. But we have, I went down and fished out of their pond, and I think they weren't happy with that. But they don't realize around here it's like fair game. So, all right, what's number 3?
Yeah, well, that's not a problem. I'm all that familiar with living in the middle of Columbus. But number 3, another really cool and amazing story coming out of the state. So this is Team Ohio, which is led by Lieutenant Governor John Husted and the Chief Information Officer for the state, Irvin Rogers. They were named to Government Technology's top 25 doers, dreamers, and drivers of 2021. Basically, they're being recognized and applauded for the technology work that they're doing at the state through things like Innovate Ohio and a ton of projects and initiatives. Some of it, most of it, a lot of it probably in response to COVID, because that's just been a massive challenge for government and state government. But also this Innovate Ohio platform, which is really incredible. And there's things like making it easier to access, university intellectual property, things like online check-in for the DMV, which I used about a month ago. And so up there with the best in the country is Team Ohio and the duo that's helping lead the charge.
That's good to see. I know we had a kind of a longer show today, but any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, just hit us up, because there's so much happening here on the tech front in Ohio that it's great to just hear from everyone around the state on what innovations and investments you're making in Ohio technology. So, Chris, I think we're done for the week.
Yeah, we're done for the week. Hopefully we get some good weather again this weekend, but we'll link in the comments the stories we've been talking about. And if you have others, feel free to drop them. But have a great weekend, Jeff. We'll talk next week.
Sounds good.
Yeah, bye-bye.